Good evening and many thanks for joining us. This is the Republic Way edition of News Hour. My name is Emmanuel Amagashi.
And my name is Akpene Avo Ajaja. In the headlines, 56th Republican Day and Senior Citizens Day observed nationwide.
President Mahama inspects projects in the Ashanti region.
Also in this bulletin, civil society organizations trained on reducing rejected ballot papers during elections.
And Liberia takes charge of its security 13 years after civil war ended.
And Clement Sam is also here with us. He will do the sign language translation of the news. A look at the stories now in detail.
Today is Republic Day. This is the day when Ghana finally cut the umbilical cord from the Queen of England as the head of the country. On this day in 1960, Ghana had her executive president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, after he had manned the country from 1957 as a prime minister, while the Queen of England was the head of state.
The day is also observed as Senior Citizens Day to celebrate the elderly, some of whom played a significant role in Ghana's struggle for freedom and nation-building process.
On March 6, 1957, Ghana gained independence from her colonial masters, the British, becoming the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to gain independence. The move inspired many other Africans to fight for liberation from colonial governance. 3 years later, on 27 April 1960, presidential elections were held for the first time in Ghana. The elections were held alongside a referendum on creating an executive presidency. The Convention People's Party (CPP), led by Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, won the general election. After winning the election and the passing of the new constitution on the simultaneous referendum, Dr. Nkrumah was inaugurated on 1 July 1960, replacing Governor General William Hare as head of state. Ghana became a republic, taking control of its own affairs and totally breaking off from British colonial rule. From then, Ghana has experienced 6 years of having a one-party system, 21 years of military dictatorship, and 29 years of a multi-party system. The first republic, which was established in 1960, was overthrown by the Ghana Armed Forces and the police on 24 February 1966. The National Liberation Council (NLC), headed by Lieutenant General Joseph Arthur Ankara, was formed to rule the country. The National Liberation Council held power until 1969, when it restored civilian rule with Dr. Kofi Abrefa-Busia winning the national election on the ticket of the Progress Party (PP). After only 3 years, however, the military overthrew Buzia's government in 1972 and took over power. In 1979, it restored civilian rule when Dr. Hilary Mann led the People's National Party (PNP) to win the 1979 general election. He became the president of the Republic of Ghana under the Third Republic, but his administration was overthrown on December 31, 1981 by junior officers of the military in what has become known as the shortest civilian regime in the country's history. The Armed Forces Revolutionary Council (AFRC), led by Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, who had earlier handed over power to the Liman administration, again overthrew the PNP government. Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings led the Provincial National Defense Council (PNDC) to rule the country for 11 years. In 1992, the PNDC returned the country to civilian rule. General elections were held, and Flight Lieutenant Rawlings led the National Democratic Congress (NDC) to win, becoming the first president under the Fourth Republic. Since then, Ghana has enjoyed relative peace and stability with successful government changes after relatively free and fair elections. After 2 terms in office, President J.J. Rawlings handed over power to John Agyekum Kufuor of the New Patriotic Party (NPP) in the 2000 general election. President Kufuor also, after 2 terms in office, handed over political power back to the NDC when Professor J.E.A. Mills won the 2008 general election. After his death on July 24, 2012, his vice, John Dramani Mahama, was sworn in as president. He went on to win that year's election. Disputes about the election led to the famous election petition filed by the NPP led by Nana Akufo-Addo. The case was ruled in favor of the NDC. As Ghana marks the 56th anniversary of becoming a republic, she is faced with many challenges including unemployment, high inflation, budget deficit, poor sanitation, corruption and indiscipline among others. But all is not lost as Ghana is ranked high among the nations in Africa which are doing well when it comes to democratic governance as well as media pluralism. With barely 5 months to go for the 2016 elections, it is obvious that the stakes are high, but both the actors in the political terrain as well as the citizens hope that nothing untoward will happen and Ghana will not have her name recorded among the nations that registered mayhem after elections.
President John Mahama has called on the youth to tap the knowledge and wisdom of the aged for guidance and future good of the nation. He made the call in Accra when he feted a cross-section of senior citizens on Senior Citizens Day. The day falls on the 1st of July every year.
As a statutory obligation, the president continued in the tradition of his forebears by joining a cross-section of senior citizens at the banquet hall in Accra for a luncheon. In attendance were some dignitaries including ministers of state. President John Mahama entreated Ghanaians not to learn history only in books, but also from the elderly.
The history of our beginnings as a sovereign nation is not only contained in books, it is a history that resides in people's memories, a history that can be told by men and women who were there, men and women who lived through those times. Each year I stand before you, representatives of our senior citizens community, and I praise you for the service you have given to our nation. And it is praise that is well deserved. Your contributions and sacrifices, whether they were made in the market, in agriculture, farming, in business, in education, in the arts, or even at home, they have all helped to make Ghana the country that it is today.
Touching on the perennial flooding in the country, he called for attitudinal change towards the environment. The president also hinted that investment in the power sector will soon make Ghana a net exporter of power.
To keep pace with the growth of demand for electricity, additional gas-fired generation is being constructed to utilize the huge gas reserves discovered offshore for the production of power. The current program being implemented is expected to make Ghana energy self-sufficient for the next 20 years and enable us to become a net exporter of electric power.
The Citizens' Day is celebrated on the 1st of July every year, which is also the Republic Day. Let's move to the Ashanti region now. President John Mahama has inspected the second military hospital located on the outskirts of Kumasi in the Trima-Nwabieja constituency. While doing so, the president noted that the project is one more evidence that his administration is fulfilling the promises it made to the people. Our presidency correspondent, Napoleon Atokito, takes us through some of the projects which engaged the president as he toured the Ashanti region.
This is the second military hospital currently under construction at Trima-Nwabieja, Kumasi. It will be the second military hospital in the country. The first military hospital in Accra was established in 1941. The 500-bed military hospital in Kumasi, to be completed in 2017, holds a 100-bed advantage over the one in Accra. $180 million facility will have residency for 120 doctors. It creates additional space to employ health professionals.
The first military hospital was built during the Second World War, by the British colonial government, and it was supposed to serve as a field hospital for war soldiers who were going to war or were coming back from war. Today, we're building this second military hospital here in the Ashanti region, precisely in Afei. And as part of the accounting to the people talk, I have come to inspect the progress of work.
In the health sector, the administration led by President John Mahama has embarked on spatial development in the hope of boosting access to health care. In this vein, he continued his tour of Ashanti by visiting district hospitals at Kumeu and Fomina. Both are under construction. This is the hospital at Fomina in Adansi South District. The president was warmly welcomed by chiefs and people at the Bonsra Efriye Palace at Fomina. They said, in addition to the hospital, Fomina wants a particular bad road to be tarred and named after the late NDC stalwart, who was a citizen of Adansi, Mr. P.V. Obing. The president then moved to the Bekwai SDA Senior High School, where he commissioned a new girls' dormitory block. It brings comfort to a school where student population keeps increasing. Remote communities also engaged the president, who inaugurated 2 more community-day senior high schools at Adobiura and Edujama. The president has pledged 200 of these schools to absorb students who do not gain admission for lack of space in existing schools. In 2014, government signed a $156 million agreement with the World Bank under the Secondary Schools Improvement Program.
This school we're commissioning has a few additional facilities that include an 8-unit staff flats. 8 of the teachers working in this school will be accommodated right here on campus. It also has a headmaster's bungalow, and that is the building you see next to the block of flats. And so the headmaster of this school is also going to reside here on campus. It has a canteen block where the children can be fed, and it has a security gate that you saw, and the security gate mimics our Black Star Square arch.
As the projects spring up across the country, the government says the following points should be noted. 1. Innovative ways of marshalling revenue to undertake projects. 2. Location of projects in very remote areas is indicative it is committed to the principle of equity in development. 3. Additional infrastructure means direct jobs to the people. 4. Should all projects across country be placed on one location, Ghana could have had modern city within 3 years of Mohammed's rule. 5. And given that projects pledged in the party's manifesto are being taken away, the government says its candidate in the next elections is the most tried and tested within the field. Napoleon Atukitu reporting.
Still in the Ashanti region, the Asantehene Otumfuo Setutu says all Ghanaians must hold the leaders of the ruling NDC and the opposition NPP to their pledges for a peaceful election in November. Referring to commitments made by President John Mahama and Nana Akufo-Addo, Otumfuo Setutu says all political actors owe it to the current generation and to posterity to play by the rules and allow sanity to prevail at all times. He was speaking when President John Mahama called on him at Menchia Palace in Kumasi. Another report by Napoleon Atokitu.
Majority of the people at the Menchia Palace Deba grounds were chiefs from the Santimai Council and government officials. It was a courtesy call by the president on the traditional overlord of the Ashanti region as he went on the 7th leg of his nationwide Accounting to the People tour. President John Mahama said Ghana's economy has remained resilient in the face of global economic uncertainties, with slower growths in China, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, and Nigeria. He said the Ashanti region continues to receive attention under his government.
The whole of Africa, there will be no markets like the Kumasi Central. The Kumasi market in Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Mali, Omina, Benidra.
The president reaffirmed his commitment to peaceful elections.
When you say I'm sitting, in any part of the Basa. Now, may show a ball, and a Ghana phone in our ball. Says, I want you to be Papa Ghana and in framing. And see, there was a buying here, a poor or minor who buying, send a bear, a beto, a bano, as some Jimo, Basa as president and commander in chief, I will do.
Asantehene Otumfuo Seitutu urged the president to remain focused while performing his duties, since he had to account to the electorate who endorsed him. One of the places where the president was well received was Ofenso. The government has done a lot for the town, having ensured that the town roads were tarred with bitumen. People flocked to the Deba grounds where government officials met with the traditional rulers led by Nanari Afiakenten, paramount chief of the Ofenso traditional area. President Mahama said the foundation that he has built in his first term will have the superstructure in place by the end of his second term, as incomes and livelihoods will be his next focus.
Nana eni aje a chese all kan akwan ho asem ana enkwan a yaye ewo Ofenso ha.
The president also had breakfast meeting with the clergy in Kumasi. Here he explained recent power cuts in parts of the country. He said Nigeria gas supplies have stopped coming. Hence the Sogli power plant in Tema, which fed the national grid with 220 megawatts, is temporarily out of use. On his tour, the president mentioned major projects, including the second military hospital, the KJTR market, district hospitals, and community day senior high schools. Napoleon Atukitu reporting.
Former First Lady and 2016 presidential candidate of the National Democratic Party, NDP, Nana Konadu-Agyeman-Rawlings, has called on Ghanaians to pray for peace and fairness in the upcoming polls. Nana Konadu-Agyeman-Rawlings made these remarks when she visited the Muslim community at Adabraka in the Klote-Korle constituency. She also donated some items and an undisclosed amount of money to the community.
Nana Konadu-Agyeman-Rawlings was accompanied by members of the National Executive Committee (NEC) of the National Democratic Party. Their visit to the Muslim community at Adabraka was to show appreciation for the support the party received during its Congress. Prayers were said for the NDP presidential candidate and her team.
بلاد العالم جميعا إنك على كل شيء قدير آمين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله.
Nana Konadu-Agyeman-Rawlings urged all to pray for a peaceful and fair elections.
We have to pray to God to make everybody who is in charge of making sure that we have good elections become a fair person. And in the course of fairness, we will get justice. In the course of justice, we will have peace. This is what we are praying for, that fairness through justice and peace should be on our nation from today till the end of the election time.
She presented 3 cartons of milk, a bag of sugar, a bag of rice with an undisclosed amount of money to the community. She also pledged her support for the construction of a school project being carried out by the Adabraka Muslim community. The Muslim community of Adabraka, led by its vice chairman, Abdullah Rashid Futa, thanked the former First Lady for the donation.
Muslims across the country will end their month-long fasting on Tuesday, the 4th of July 2016. The Muslim Workers Association of GBC held lectures and prayers. The annual iftar at the Broadcasting House here in Accra. A lecturer at the University of Applied Management, Dr. Abubakar Mohammed Masood Azindo, delivered a lecture on the topic, The Significance of the Power in the Holy Month of Ramadan. He explained that the significance of Ramadan is for the Muslims to eschew vices and uphold virtues that one derives from the holy month. According to Dr. Abubakar, the period is also for Muslims to reassess their contribution to the community. He charged all Muslims to use this moment to conduct themselves peacefully before, during and after this year's elections.
The virtues of the ninth of power would ensure among us unity instead of division, peace instead of violence, forgiveness instead of vindictiveness, reconciliation instead of aggression, and excellence instead of mediocrity. Conduct yourself peacefully in the forthcoming elections.
Head of Religious Broadcast of GBC, Reverend Helena Sarkodie, in her solidarity message, entreated members to be united and tolerant despite their religious differences.
Religion is a bridge and not a wall. We must pursue a religion of love, which creates space for everyone. God is merciful and loving according to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Also present at the event were the Director of Television, Mrs. Betty Apaopong, and former Director of Corporate Affairs, Alhaji Al-Hassan Alfa.
We journey northwards now, and at a ceremony to mark Republic Day in the Upper West region, the Regional Minister, Alhaji Amidu Suleimani, called on senior citizens to make their expertise available to the relevant authorities to promote development in the region.
In the Upper West region, about 300 retired public and civil servants drawn from all the 11 districts took part in the celebration. They ate, drank and danced to different types of music provided by the police band. The regional minister, Alhaji Suleimani, acknowledged the contributions of senior citizens in the areas of health, education, agriculture, water and security, among others. He spoke about the need to maintain peace and unity to promote development of the region. Some of the senior citizens expressed concern about the meager allowance they take at the end of the month as pensioners. The senior citizens were each given a half piece of cloth in recognition of their contributions to the development of the region. Former regional ministers and former DCEs were also honored. Still in the Upper West region, over 50 civil society organizations have received training on how to reduce rejected ballot papers during elections. The beneficiaries will in turn share the knowledge gained across the region. It was organized by TEERE, an organization which stands for change at Bolkatanga in the Upper East. Been a problem during elections. This is in spite of the campaigns and programs organized to reduce the high numbers. And with the upcoming elections, the organizers of this education program on the rejected ballot papers hope to equip participants in the Upper East region with the needed knowledge. After this training, participants are expected to share the knowledge acquired with citizens in Bongo and Bolga, all in the Upper East region, to help reduce the large number of rejected ballot papers in the region. They will also receive training to understand citizen participation in development in the region and the nation as a whole. The CEO of TEERE in the Upper East region, Professor Avianso, said a nation cannot properly develop when there's no peace. He called on all to ensure peace during this election. The training was organized by TEERE and supported by Star Ghana.
Vice President Kwesi Emerson-Arthur has paid tribute to the late former Chief Fire Officer Samuel Vallis Achianu at a pre-burial service held in Accra. Mr. Emerson-Arthur described the late former Chief Fire Officer as a dutiful son of the land.
The late Chief Fire Officer Samuel Vallis Achianu served in the Ghana National Fire Service between the period 1963 and 1996. He became a chief fire officer in 1983 to 1996. During his tenure, he was described as a committed leader who spearheaded the transformation of the Ghana National Fire Service. Also present was the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Matilda Emisa-Arthur, Deputy Minister for the Interior, James Agalga, and former Eastern Regional Minister, Samuel Intri-Boesiako, and the Chief Fire Officer, Albert Brown-Gazy. Vice President Emisa-Arthur described the late officer as a man of good deeds.
Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord, for they shall rest from their labor. Their good deeds will follow them. And Kofi Achianu had many, many, many good deeds. You come to this building. This building has stood uncompleted for years, and Kofi Achianu became acting chief fire officer. And he was in the Ministry of Finance every day, pursuing the completion of this building. So when they moved from Makola here, he invited me here. So this is one of the good deeds that Kofi Achianu had.
The late Chief Fire Officer Samuel Valles Achianu was once a Minister of State and a former ambassador to the Czech Republic. He left behind a wife and 7 children.
And we say may he rest in perfect peace. In some more stories, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, President John Mahama, has, in consultation with the Council of State, appointed Major General Obed Boama Akwa as Chief of Army Staff of the Ghana Armed Forces. In a statement, the Ghana Armed Forces said his appointment takes effect immediately. Major General Obed Boama Akwa was, until his appointment, the commandant of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. And
President Mahama has, on the recommendations of the Ghana Armed Forces Council, also approved the promotion of the following officers. Brigadier General W.A. Ayamdo and Brigadier General S.K. Adeti have been promoted to the rank of Major General, while Commodore S. Amoama moves to the Rear Admiral rank and Air Commodore G.S. Evans moves to the rank of Air Vice Marshal.
President Mahama has also endorsed the following appointments in the Ghana Armed Forces. Major General W.A. Ayamdo is now Commandant of the Military Academy and Training School. Air Vice Marshal G.S. Evans takes over as the Commandant of the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, and Rear Admiral S. Amoama is now the Commandant of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College.
And the following have also been appointed General Commanding Officers. The Northern Command will be headed by Brigadier General S.B. Allo, Brigadier General C.B. Alasan, Central Command, Brigadier General F. Ofori, Commander Special Services Brigade. A number of other officers have also been promoted to the next rank.
This is News Hour, live on GBC24 and GTV.
Hello, good evening and welcome. It's Republic Day today and we bring you some business updates. I am Dorothy Ajimai. Aluworks has once again failed to declare dividend to its shareholders. The board chair of Aluworks, Mr. Seth Ajay, indicated that the power crisis and interest payments on loans in 2015 affected the operations of the company and the profit margins, which recorded a loss of profits before tax of 14.231 million Ghana cedis. He, however, indicated that they are in negotiation with Vendetta to partner them as a strategic investor who injects capital into its operations, which will enable restructure its debt portfolio to turn the company's fortunes around.
Aluworks is a leading producer of aluminium-based products, which consist of aluminium sheet in coil, circles, flat sheets, corrugated roofing sheets, among others. The factory has a capacity of 30,000 metric tons per annum and a workforce of about 450. The operations of Aluworks in the last couple of years has not been up to expectation. Management of Aluworks say the inability of the company to lift its head above the wood informed the decision by the board not to declare dividend for some time now. In an attempt to reverse this trend, the management of Aluworks have secured a $10 million loan from SNIT to procure a new cold mill for the smooth running of the company. but the challenges being witnessed in the economy, including the continuous fall of the cedi to the US dollar, has slowed down movements to turn the company's fortune around. In 2015, Aluworks recorded a turnover of 78,665 million Ghana cedis, an increase of 2.4% on the 2014 figure of 76,845 million Ghana cedis. Operating profits dropped from more than 4.6 million in 2014 to 2.5 million Ghana cedis in 2015. Total production for 2015 amounted to 6,149 tonnes compared to 7,941 tonnes in 2014, representing 20% drop. Sales also dropped by 20% in 2015, while export earnings dropped from $7.1 million to $4.7 million in 2015. The board chair of the company, Mr. Sethi J, indicated that the performance recorded in 2015 made it difficult to record profit.
By the end of this year, we would have had some months of working with a new strategic investor who we are looking forward to propelling us into a strong future with an expanded line of products for the West African consuming public. This will entail a successful restructuring of our finances during the rest of 2016 and will put us in a strong position to meet the demand of our customers.
The chief executive of Aluworks, Mr. Ernest Kwesi Okon, says the future is bright, especially at a time that strategic investors have expressed interest to partner the company.
The negotiations we are having are about how to clear the debts I've told you about, what we need to do to improve the business we've got, how to access other markets that we need to access, and so on and so forth.
He appealed to the shareholders to bear with the company because management will restructure its finances in 2016 and put Aluworks on the path of putting smiles on the faces of shareholders.
The CDH Balanced Fund recorded a gain of 17.57%, representing 30.68%, with an increase of the initial fund from 800,000 to 1 million Ghana cedis. This saw the total fund's growth of 24%. Fund managers say the steady growth of the fund is in line with the overall investment objective to provide medium to long-term growth in income with a combination of fixed income instruments and equities listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
Established in 1986, CDH Financial Holdings started as a discount house in Ghana under the name Consolidated Discount House, with an objective to help maintain liquidity in Ghana's financial services sector. The company was reconstructed in 1998 into a holding company with specialized subsidiaries operating in asset management, stock brokerage, commodities trading, short-term finance and insurance. CDH Balanced Fund was introduced in June 2015 after a successful initial public offer (IPO) that was oversubscribed by 60%. In the first quarter of its operations from June to December, the fund gained 17.57% and a 24% growth in fund. The chairman of CDH Balanced Fund, Mr. Emmanuel Edusa Akodie, said Ghana's economic performance as measured by the GDP is expected to pick up from the 2015 end-of-year forecast of 4% to about 6% in 2016. This will be on the back of new oil production in the 10 fields expected to start in August. In this vein, CDH is poised for investor growth.
Our goal is to build a well-structured investment vehicle that will ensure that we are able to meet your medium to long-term financial return expectations. The management of the fund is committed to a wise investment strategy that focuses primarily on good returns at moderate to low risk.
The CDH Balanced Fund also purchased shares in Cowbank, GCB and Funmilk with gains of 17.65%, 1.88% and 9.54% respectively, reflecting a negative 11.80% on the GSE. On the outlook, the executive director of CDH Asset Management,
Mr. Seth Aite said the outcome of the 2016 elections is unlikely to change business prospects in the country.
The strategy of the fund manager shall remain steady investment in high-yielding instruments and the progress towards a more balanced fund. We shall ensure that the riskier assets that we purchase, that is the stocks, have sound fundamentals and can deliver good returns in the medium to longer term.
CDH has positioned itself to roll out an aggressive marketing strategy to whip up the interest of even the unbanked in the investment market.
The president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, Nana Dr. PJ Dankawoso, has called on the Ghana Revenue Authority to make efforts to clarify the composition of duties that are claimable as drawback and how it is calculated. This, according to him, would help the manufacturers to understand and appreciate the system. Nana Dr. PJ Dankawoso said this when addressing stakeholder consultation meeting in Accra on duty drawback.
Duty drawback scheme is one of the trade policy instruments being used to enhance the international competitiveness of Ghana's exports. Ghana has had a duty drawback in place since 1993 after she liberalized the import and export trade regime with a view to make it easier for domestic manufacturing firms to source scarce or unavailable inputs from other countries at competitive prices for the manufacture of goods for export. Duty drawback is also the refund of import duties and taxes paid on imported materials that are used as inputs in the manufacture of goods, which are then exported. This is aimed at providing manufactured goods exporters with imported material inputs at world prices in order to increase their profitability while maintaining the protection for domestic industries that compete with import. However, since its introduction, the implementation of the duty drawback policy in Ghana has been criticized by exporters, and manufacturing interests has been fraught with several operational and bureaucratic bottlenecks. The president of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, Nana Dr. PJ Dankawoso, said the workshop comes at a time when exporters and importers are urgently in need of some level of respite in order to sustain and improve their business activities. The chief executive of Ghana National Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Mark Bedu Abuaji, said Ghana Revenue Authority, GRA, should simplify the document requirements to ensure rapid disbursements of funds for the payment of claims. The Ghana Chamber of Commerce expressed worry about the fact that the manufacturing sector has for the past 3 years been recording negative growth.
Coming up as insurance news. Credit life insurance is one of the insurance policies that comes as a sign of relief to the policyholder and his bank. Credit life insurance policy is designed to pay off a borrower's debt when death occurs. The face value of a credit life insurance policy decreases proportionately with an outstanding loan amount of the loan is paid off over time until both reach zero value.
Life insurance is a kind of security that is taken by the banks to be able to protect themselves against losses that will result from the default of debtors during the course of the loan. If you die in the first day, the whole loan is going to be paid by the insurance company. If you die in the last day and it's left with 1 cedi, the insurance company will pay it off so that the banks will have the full value of what they gave to you. It's not only death. They cover you against permanent disability. If, for instance, stroke and he can no longer work and he loses his income, the employer dispenses of his services. Then, of course, even though he has not died, the insurance company will pay to the bank the balance of the loan because he can no longer earn money to pay off the loan.
The insurance news was brought to you by SIC Live. We have more news coming up. Please do stay.
In health news, health experts have recommended spoon and cup feeding for babies and children instead of bottle feeding. This is due to a number of challenges that comes with the keeping of their feeding bottles and the texture of the rubber that is used for the teeth. GBC24 has been finding out more about bottle feeding and its effect.
The World Health Organization, WHO, recommends that a child is exclusively breastfed for at least 6 months, after which the child can take water and supplementary food in the form of cereals and grains. The 6 months exclusive breastfeeding for babies is recommended to avoid most of the challenges that comes with the handling of the feeding bottle or the cups that will be used to feed the baby. Ideally, a mother is supposed to have 2 bottles, one for food and the other for water. To avoid sucking difficulties, the teeth of the feeding bottle should not be too soft. Again, the hole in the teeth should not be too big or small in order to avoid choking. Doctors advise that it should be kept clean to avoid any infection, since the immune system of the baby is still developing. The question is, how well do mothers keep these bottles?
Special cooking utensil be silver one. And me chichimu ya na me di clean water 5 gallon water. Na me di sijas na me di na feeding bottle na ehun ke kan no didi na me di egum na ma boil for some time. And to say me use na me year free.
Auntie Baba Kobna tells us that feeding bottles have been in existence since the 70s and cleaning them is a priority.
Those times na mineral water ben you boil the water or oji ne egu ne water on separate na as a manama. The time is good there about clean bottles no me na sterilize and sana as a man into montomelt na na there bibimpa just enchin kakrampo na se edugu insunu mu na as wuhuru mu kakrampa da oba ma mboabo when bacteria na ifim.
Unlike the single bottles, some feeding bottles come with sterilizers in a start-up pack, which makes cleaning of the bottles much easier, like Tommy TP, Avent, and Boots. Otherwise, the mother has to clean it herself in hot water and salt or melting. We find out from Dr. Vera Bayo, a medical officer at the Kolebutation Hospital, how long the bottle should be used and when should the teeth of the bottle be changed.
If you notice that your feeding bottle changes in appearance, for example, the teeth begins to appear cloudy, or the bottle itself, when you bought it, it was transparent and now looks cloudy, it's a sign that, okay, this bottle has served its purpose and it's time to get rid of it.
Feeding bottles come in different shapes and forms. One decides what type to use per person's preference. According to Lola Bell Ajololo, who is a shop attendant at the Mokola Market in Accra, the preference comes with affordability and class. Dr. Bayo advised that for the bottle to be hygienic, extra care should be taken when cleaning it. She recommends cup and spoon feeding, which is the best option for babies and children.
Feeding with a feeding bottle is very easy. Now there's an emerging issue of BPA, which is bisphenol A. It's a chemical that is used to harden rubber and is used in some feeding bottles. Now we see a lot of feeding bottles around, BPA-free feeding bottles. The world has come to realize that this BPA can be harmful to our babies. And so a lot of manufacturers are producing bottles that are BPA-free. However, are we sure that our mothers here are buying feeding bottles that are BPA-free?
The price of the single feeding bottle is between 7 cedis and 40 Ghana cedis, while that of the branded bottles with sterilizer startup is sold between 170 Ghana cedis to 850 Ghana cedis. Though not all children use the feeding bottle, experts advise that whatever a child feeds from should be kept clean and hygienic to avoid infections. Mavis Ofe Achampo, GBC24, Accra.
Health News was brought to you by FPAC.
Welcome back to the news. In the international segment, Liberia is assuming responsibility for its security for the first time since civil war ended in the West African country 13 years ago, a move welcomed by UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. A UN peacekeeping force has transferred responsibility and President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf marked the handover. A reduced UN force of about 1,200 troops will remain in a supporting role. Ban paid tribute to Liberia's determination to work towards lasting peace. The peacekeeping force was deployed in 2003 to help stabilize Liberia after a 4-year civil war. That conflict and a previous civil war are said to have killed more than 250,000. During the Ebola virus outbreak in 2014, Liberia's UN ambassador called a strong international presence in the country a critical stabilizing factor. Coming up shortly is sports. Do stay.
In sports news, the Porcupine Warriors Asante Kotoko have lifted this year's President's Cup. They beat Hearts of Oak on penalties by 3-2. And moving on, New Edubiase in the Ashanti region must be a lucky town indeed. The district capital is one of few such places at the district level to be earmarked to have a modern stadium, as President John Mahama cut the sod for work to begin on the 10,000-seater sports stadium. It dawned on the residents that the dream will become a reality. Napoleon Kito reports.
New Edubiase in the Ashanti region is to get a modern stadium. Construction of the 10,000-seater stadium begins soon after the president cut the sod to herald the project. He was accompanied by the sports minister Neil Lante van der Poy to undertake the exercise. New Edubiase United, which is one of the clubs in Ghana's Premier Soccer League, has adopted the Edujemfi Park at Bekwai for their league matches.
The Ghana Beach Soccer Association has launched the 2016 Unity Cup. The competition is to prepare players ahead of the AFCON Beach Soccer qualifiers and also to promote unity and peace before and after the general election.
Two-day competition from July 15 to 17 at the Laboma Beach Soccer Arena in Accra will involve teams from the Greater Accra, Western, Central and Volta regions. They will battle for the ultimate trophy at stake. Launching the event in Accra, the president of the association, Yawan Pofuankra, expressed gratitude to the title sponsors for their involvement in developing the game.
The fastest growing sport in the world, according to FIFA, and this has been noticed by the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, who have now made beach soccer an Olympic sport. So that is good news. What we're trying to do this time around, in this year, 2016, is to also play our role as a responsible sport in Ghana, a sport that is dominated by the youth. So in so doing, how do we contribute to the theme of peace and unity in Ghana? So beach soccer is also going to play its role by organizing a Unity Cup, and this will be played amongst the key coastal areas that play beach soccer.
The Director General of the National Sports Authority, Mr. Joe Pengi, urged the teams to be at their best. The representatives of Gando Cosmetics and Santa Cola Company said their involvement in supporting the competition stems from the fact that beach soccer in Ghana has a bright future.
All students of Ebri Girls, Legon Presec, Fansipim and Adisadel College have organized their annual fun games in Accra. It also fosters unity, relieve the good old days and promotes peace as the country prepares for the general elections.
The Presec Park at Legon was the venue for the annual fun games of the old students of Legon Presec and Ebri Girls. This year's event had old students of Adisadel College, Fansipim Senior High School and Fansiman Girls Senior High School joining. It was to socialize and relive the good old school life. They participated in disciplines including soccer between Adisco and Presec Legon. There was also a human football competition, snooker, table tennis, and a volleyball event. Adisadel College were in good shape as they beat Legon Presec by 5-1 in the football competition. Another keenly contested event was volleyball. The Adisadel boys again came tops, beating Presecans by 9 points. In the human football competition, the Presec boys teamed up with Ibri Girls ladies, whilst Adisadel teamed up with Infante Man girls. The 7-a-side event is played backwards, and any player that turns to the face of the goalpost is taken out. At the end, Adisadel College and Infante Man girls won by 3-0. Some participants share their experience.
Just want to have fun and build that network and then bond. This is actually to bring about exposure to the entrepreneurs that are amongst us, and then to bring the whole nation together along with fun, celebrating Ghana, so we're celebrating all of us.
At Adisadel College were adjudged the overall winners.
And that was sports. We make way now for entertainment after the break.
In the arts segment, Xavier, a fashion designer, changes his voice to sound like a trumpet. This act is commonly known as throwing one's voice. He was our guest on Showbiz segment.
Xavier Aqua realized he had this talent 7 years ago. He told us his story.
I love to listen to the voice of a trumpet, and I love to play it too.
Okay.
But along the line, I realized that most of the trumpeters, their lips become swollen and get injured.
Okay.
So I told myself, this thing I can't do it. But one day, at my sober moment, I was thinking about the whole thing. And God spoke to me that if we can use our mouth to whistle and sing with it, then why can't you use the same mouth to replicate the sound of a trumpet?
Okay.
With his unique talent, he has been thrilling a lot of audience at different events. Another budding talent, Nana Jiman, a rapper, met Xavier in the studio of GBC24, and together they composed an election song within a few minutes.
Xavier. Yesterday, you to a leader. Oh, he had a boshum na ye papa. Or Safata, you better from Obey Juma. And your monobé bacano bedisica. 26 Kokomote never power. Etina hodination most of Manacona. Jenny that's a walla or Yemawa. Remember one physical walla with the shower. Ghana face, nothing else.
Rapper Nana Jiman shared some difficulties he has faced in the showbiz industry.
Coming as a single artist and then having no one to support you is very difficult. Sometimes you go to some people and then they listen to you, they are like, I will help you, and at the end of the day, nothing comes out from it.
Election, I beg, take precaution, make no create confusion, war, now be abomination, and so see politicians.
Also in the arts segment, some practitioners in the creative arts industry have complained about the challenges they encounter in their field of work. At a program on the draft Creative Industry Bill in Kofodia in the Eastern region, they mentioned lack of coordination of activities and inadequate funding as some problems. It was organized by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts.
Nationwide program by the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts is to collate views on the draft bill put together by experts from the Attorney General's Department and experienced creative industry practitioners. When the bill is passed, it will lead to the establishment of institutions such as the Creative Arts Council and a Creative Arts Secretariat, among others, to provide practitioners an avenue to air their concerns.